You're listening to The Betty Howls Show here on CILU Radio 102.7 FM. I have my third wonderful guest of the day in the studio with me right now. And so, Katie, you're here today to talk about being a member of Artisans Northwest, but also what kind of stuff you create. So maybe do you want to just introduce yourself to the listeners that may not know who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name's Katie Hughdie. I am an artisan and I work under the name Sew Whimsical by Katie. And I specialize in making dolls. And I make a couple different types of dolls. I have ones that are just for fun and they're cute. And I have other dolls that mean a little more to me. They're socially progressive and I think they're really important to expose children to them. So, I do other sewing as well, but I mostly make dolls and that's mostly what I sell. And that's what I'm passionate about.
So how long have you been sewing, just sewing?
Oh, I've sewn ever since I was maybe 7.
Okay.
And my mom knew how to sew and so did my stepmom. They both taught me how to use a sewing machine. I was constantly in the storage room at my mom's house sewing in the basement, sweet talking our sewing machine that was breaking down all the time. And I made toys for my younger siblings. I'm the oldest of 7.
Oh, wow.
And I really enjoyed it, and I loved crafting. And when I had our third baby, her name is Alice, for some reason, I decided at that time I need to have a little sewing business. So when she was about 2 months old, I started it. I don't know why I decided to start then. I just had this drive that I wanted to showcase my work a little more professionally, and
that's interesting.
And I've been doing it ever since.
After 3 kids, you would be a very busy mom, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and I'm still a really busy mom, but I find that getting down into my studio is the time when I can have by myself and I can work on things that I want to do, and I can be somebody a little different than just Katie the mom, because that's really important to me. It's part of my identity, but as a woman, it's nice to do something that is not necessarily always associated with your children.
Mm-hmm. Well, very healthy, really.
Yeah, it is. It's self-care, really, when it gets down to it.
Very much so. Well, that's interesting because that's something we talk about on this show quite a bit. A lot of the members and interviews that I have are about different feminist issues like that. So it's interesting that taking care of yourself became a professional creative endeavor that is probably a pretty big part of your life now. Because that was, how long ago was that you started?
Alice has just turned 3, so I've been working professionally for about 3 years.
And you joined Artisans pretty quickly?
Yeah, just a year ago, actually.
Okay, but then quickly after that, you were in the One of a Kind show, right? If I'm remembering correct?
Yeah, I've been in the One of a Kind show in Toronto. That was amazing. I met so many friends and artisans and got so much inspiration. It was incredible. My sister lives in Toronto, so she helped me. Otherwise, I would have not been able to do it. It was a lot of work to fly and ship all my work ahead of time, but it was a great experience. But to be honest, when I go to the Artisans Northwest show, I find that the quality of the work that's available in Thunder Bay is very comparable to what I saw in Toronto, and I'm really proud of the people in our community. We have a lot of talented artists here.
Well, and one thing I found interesting when you announced that you were going on our private artisan page where we all talk about stuff, how many people spoke up and said that they had done it once, or, a lot of people have had that kind of acclaim, and a lot of us see that as kind of a really high pinnacle to achieve, to get into One of a Kind, because really people come from all over the country to that show.
Yeah, it totally is. It is the big time, and I was so proud of myself that I was accepted. And the one thing that I found about One of a Kind, when I went there were so many vendors. We had approximately 60,000 people come in the door that were customers. And then for the vendors, in my section alone, which was the Etsy section where I sell online, that's my online platform, there was 100 people, and some of my really great friends were there, and they sell dolls too. And so there's so much competition when you're in a show like that. Mm-hmm. People have so many places they can spend their money. There's just so much to buy and so much great work. So
Interesting. So was it at times overwhelming, that experience, to be there? Like, you were obviously ready for it, had a place to stay, all the logistics had been worked out, but the amount of people you had to talk to and...
Yeah, it was totally overwhelming. I was taking public transit to and from the show each day. And when you're in a show, you get in this zone where you have to talk to everybody and you have to smile all the time. And I said the same thing 100 million times a day. And I would tell my story all the time. And then when I got back on the subway one night to go home, people were coming on and I was smiling at them, like, and looking at them in the eyes. And I was like, oh my gosh, Katie, you got to stop. Like, you do not smile at people on public transit in big city Toronto. It's like I couldn't turn it off. Yeah. But then one day it went from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. at night. And I worked alone. And I was so tired. At the end, my sister came and my dad was texting her asking, how's Katie? And she said, Katie cannot even smile anymore. And she can't even stand up. I just had to sit down. And then when we got out of the show, I was so tired, and I run half marathons in my spare time. And I said to Ashley, this is how I feel after I've run a half marathon. I am so mentally tired and physically tired. You have to tell me what to do, because I just, like, I will walk into the road. Mm-hmm. And so I was, like, so exhausted. But it was a good experience anyway.
Positive for the most part.
Yeah.
I think those kind of things you're not necessarily ready for. Like, and most people, I think, that come visit us don't realize that, you know, we are super excited to be there, but that sometimes can be the most challenging part, I think, because a lot of us are introverts. You know, we create these things when we're alone, and then you have to showcase them and be really social, and it takes it out of you sometimes. And
even though it does take out so much of your energy and your time, it is so great to show your work to people and tell them why you're doing it, especially some of the social dolls that I do, and have people's reaction. That's amazing that you're doing that. I can't believe that you made a doll like that, and that sort of thing. And that's great. But it still takes a lot out of you when you're saying the same thing and kind of having the same conversation all the time.
Yeah, but it's energizing, like the actual experience.
Totally energizing,
it's just the actual doing of the talking by the end of the day. You're burnt out. But yeah, I find that's invigorating and sometimes can really inspire you for months at a time after the show. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Yeah, for sure.
So you've been creating these dolls, and you said you have a specific line that really are dear to your heart. Do you want to talk about that at all?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I have 3 lines of dolls that I really, really like. The first one is called the Strong Role Model Dolls. And some of you might remember that I had with my friends, Jessica White, my photographer, and also my friend Leah Wellwood, we did a search for the next strong role model a couple of years ago, before the other girls had babies again. I'm not having any more babies, so I'm good to go.
You're good at 3.
I made these dolls that were based on my 4 sisters that are all strong, confident women, and they resemble my sisters, and they also have their personas in terms of what the story behind them is. There's a doctor, a teacher, a nurse who, a new mother, and then my other sister who has her doctorate in kinesiology. And so it was super cool, well received, because lots of girls have access to dolls, and lots of the time there's nothing to these dolls. They're pink or they're princesses, and that's great for some girls, but it's not what I wanted for my girls only. So I came up with these new dolls that would inspire young girls to become strong, confident women themselves. So that's one of them. The other is the Inclusive Bunny Family, and it's a line where you can build your family, and they're all bunnies. So I'm from a same-sex family. I have 2 moms, and when I was growing up, there was never any toys that looked like us. And it's gotten a lot better in literature and whatnot for children, but there are no toys that I found that portray same-sex families. So I made families like that. So there's 2 daddy bunnies with a baby, and there's single-parent bunnies and everything like that. So people can buy for their child a bunny family that resembles them, and the children can be validated by seeing them represented within the context of their own world. So there's those ones, and also I make gender creative dolls, which are a little boy who's dressed in a fairy costume and a princess crown and whatnot, and a little girl who's dressed all in pink, but over top of that pink, she's chosen to wear a cowboy sheriff's uniform because she's not really interested in pink. And so the clothing on the dolls shows what society is expecting them to look like and what they're expected to be like. But their choice of accessories and dress-up clothing reflects really how they feel inside. And I think it's important because there's many kids out there that are not comfortable with the gender that they are born in. And we need to celebrate those kids. And along with the other kids that maybe there's little boys that just like playing with princesses or Barbies, and that's fine. And we need to, again, show that in society and show them that that's okay. So those ones are really important to me.
All of them really are pretty fantastic.
Yeah. And the very last ones are the Canadian Heroes series, which showcase really important Canadians, I think. There's Terry Fox, Roberta Bondar, and also Princess Greenmantle from the Quebec area. She is an Ojibwe princess. So really important people in Canada, and I made them into dolls so that kids could learn about them.
And history.
Yeah.
Pretty fascinating and interesting, the special line. So do you have kids coming up to the table and really touching and feeling the dolls and being curious about them?
Yeah, absolutely. I try to put some of the dolls at ground level so that the children can see them. When you're showcasing your work, I know people always get nervous about kids coming and touching their work, as they should be nervous, I might add. But at the same time, that's how children explore, and it's really nice for them to have the opportunity for the tactile experience with touching the dolls and holding them. And I love seeing especially young kids pick them up and kiss them and hug them. That's really cute.
That's one thing that I've found interesting in being in the show is having kids come up to the table, because I always have sparkly rocks all over the table, and they take them and they grab them, and their parents are, no, put it down. And I always say, well, you can take it if you want, because I mean, to a little kid, that's what was important about the show, not the business card, right? Is that sparkly bit that they got such a charge out of. So it's neat when you can give that little bit to the kids when they're wandering by and see them experience that.
Yeah, it's super cool to meet kids. And I have to be really diplomatic because a lot of them say to their mom or dad or whoever's with them, I want this doll. And I'm thinking, yeah, and I want your mom to buy it for you. But what I say is, well, you'll maybe some other time, you have to be really careful because you don't want to be, in the middle of things there.
Well, you're a mom, so you know about that.
Yeah, totally.
So why don't we have a short musical interlude, and then we'll come back and we can talk a little bit more about artisans.
Sounds good.
Okay. You're listening to The Betty Howls Show here on CILU Radio 102.7 FM. I have Katie with me from Artisans Northwest, and I'm just going to play Christine Fellow's song, The Goddess of Macrame. Not exactly sewing, but, there's a bit of a thread idea in there, so I thought it would be appropriate for Katie's interview today. Let's check it out. You're listening to CILU Radio.
struck a match across her shining armor chest and lit up a cigar before she gathered up her dress. God bless this mess, an ambrosia salad, Tupperware molds. I gave you poetry, this olive tree. Believe me, I am here.
And that was Christine Fellows with the song The Goddess of Macrame off of her Nevertheless album. You're listening to The Betty Howls Show here on CILU Radio 102.7 FM. And I have with me in the studio Katie, who is, I guess, how do you say So Whimsical? Is it Katie, So Whimsical by Katie? Is that how you?
Yeah, it's So Whimsical by Katie.
So if people were looking for you online, how would they look you up? Like that?
Yeah, you could search for me on Facebook, or you could look on Etsy.com. I have my online shop there. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter. I'm all over the place.
And Pinterest too, right?
Yes, Pinterest as well.
Which is great for people who are of a visual nature.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know I enjoy it a lot. So we were just talking before we had a song on about your doll creations. So maybe you want to talk a little bit about your role in Artisans because you're on the executive.
Yeah. Yeah, you know me. I'm always looking for something else to do, apparently, like another committee to join or meeting to attend. And when I joined Artisans, I knew afterwards that the chair of the jury selection, their term was up, and they were looking for somebody, and I thought, you know, I could do this. I'm a pretty organized and caring, confident type person, positive, and I think I could really make this process enjoyable for people and make it as positive as possible. And my goal, which I shared with the group before I applied to be the chair, I told them that my goal was to make the artists feel that their work was respected and appreciated and that they were respected as artists when they left our jury room, even if they were not accepted into our group. I think it's really important to be kind to people and make them feel like what they're doing is important, because art is very subjective, as you know, and there's all different types of art. Just because it's an artist or artisan that maybe isn't quite the right fit for us as a group, it doesn't mean in any way that their work is not valuable.
So you kind of felt you had a really good personality for that role. Now you've been in that role it's been at least a year now, right?
Yeah, it's been a year.
So has it been a good, interesting experience for you?
Yeah, it's been so good. And there's been some very difficult times when I've had to tell people their work isn't accepted, because I never feel good about that.
Yeah.
But I try to do it in a positive way. And I'm supported so much by my members on my committee who have been on that committee a lot longer than I have on the jury. So they've done that for many years. So I get a lot of support from them and advice and whatnot. So it's a great group of people who volunteer their time to help me with that particular part of the group.
So in order to join Artisans, people kind of put their name forward. And can you explain the process so that people have an understanding?
Yeah, it's a pretty simple process, really. If you go to our website at artisansnorthwest.ca, you'll find a heading that's called Documents and Forms. And there's a form there that's called the jury application form. You just print it out, you fill it out, and include as much information as you can about your process and your work and how you create things. And then you would mail it to me, or you could email it to me. No, actually, you have to mail it, sorry.
Yeah.
So you can mail it to me, and there's a fee that you do have to pay, a $15 jurying fee for new members. So you have to include a check for that. And also you have to include a membership check for us, which is $30. And if you are accepted, we keep the membership check. If you are not accepted, we return that to you at the jurying session, but we do keep the $15 jurying fee. That's our administration fee to cover the paper that I need to print and all these documents and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the 2 jurying sessions a year, one in the fall and one in the spring, and they're posted on our website. As it gets closer to the time it's posted, we try to advertise it as well. And you can always contact me through email or on Facebook. And then we ask people to bring by 3 to 5 items they've decided to have juried and that they filled out their form reflecting those items. And you'll set them up at the Valhalla Inn. And I would tell you the room and everything. And we have some nice tables set up for you. You can make an attractive display with your work that really showcases it to the best of its ability, and also to bring your best work that you have. And then you leave, and we, with my jury committee, we look at all the work, we discuss it. There's sometimes lots of discussion because people have different viewpoints, which is very helpful in really making a good decision, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then we call you back into the room. A couple hours later, people usually go home and then come back, and then we tell you if you're accepted or not, or I should say I tell you if you're accepted or not.
Okay. So it's a very thoughtful process that you guys go
is.
through. Yeah.
And it's not just one person deciding if your work is going to be accepted. It's a whole group of us. So we try to not make it so subjective. And the work is, it's looked at with some criteria. For example, the originality of the work, the artistic merit, the aesthetic value, the craftsmanship. And that's what we're really looking for. And sometimes you may have wonderful work that is absolutely beautiful and lovely, but it may be in a category that we already have a lot of artisans in. So for example, a good one is jewelry. There's so many amazing jewelers in this town, but we really look for something different because we already have quite a few jewelers in our show, and we do like to keep the show looking really fresh and not have it inundated in one sort of category of work. So sometimes that could be a reason why you're not accepted, and it doesn't mean that your work is not good. It's probably fabulous, but...
Well, it sounds like a important role, I think.
Yeah, it is super important and super difficult at times as well.
So this year is our 40th anniversary, and there's some special things that are happening because of that. And one of them is the first 40 people in each day are going to get a coupon, right?
Yeah, that is so exciting. We talked about it at our executive committee. It was Cindy who came up with the idea, and it's awesome. The first 40 people that come in the door each day, Saturday and Sunday, will get a $5 voucher to be used at any of the artisan tables in the whole show. So you will essentially be getting $5 off your purchase, and it's a really nice way to acknowledge those people that have come to see us year after year, and especially those people that wait outside the doors until we're open. Yeah. We appreciate you, and we thank you for coming to see us for so long. So we just wanted to thank everybody.
Well, and we wouldn't be around without them, so...
Yeah, absolutely.
So just so that everybody gets a good idea of where to find you, do you want to say what your website is on Etsy? And
yeah, sure. So if you just go to Etsy.com, it's probably easier just to search for Sew Whimsical by Katie. And I'm the only shop with that name, so I'll come up. And then if you want to email me, I'm katie@sewwhimsical.ca. And again, if you just search me on Facebook, I'm there. Or if you search Artisans Northwest, which is a wonderful page you should definitely like and share with your friends. If you message Artisans Northwest, you will get a response from myself or Lisa. So we run the Facebook page, and we have got amazing stuff on the Facebook page. Pictures from last year, the most pictures I think we've ever had of a show. Lisa and I took tons. They're all posted on there. So if you've never been to the show, you'll get an idea about the caliber of work that you will see. And we also have some artisan profiles to celebrate our 40th anniversary. So check those out, because they're explaining from the artisans themselves why they create the work they do, how long they've done it, what things they might have for the show that you'd be excited about, and pictures. So definitely check it out.
Oh yeah, there's lots of great stuff on that page. So thanks for coming by. I know this time of year is busy for all of us, but it's nice that you had a chance to stop by for an interview.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was really fun.
When you come on the Betty Howls Show, the first time you come, as long as you're happy, you're welcome to come back anytime to talk about anything that you're doing. So
Okay, cool.
I leave the door open to anybody that's come here. So remember that going forward, because I know you do a lot of other things in the community. So the show is really for everybody to have a voice and be able to talk about things they're really passionate about.
Awesome.
So thanks for stopping by, Katie.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. You're listening to Betty Howls here on CILU Radio 102.7 FM.